I'm Kris Taylor. I'm joined by Katie McNamee, and this is Consulting Conversations with Kris and Katie. So today the topic is the art of the pivot and why that's really important for you as an independent consultant, as a freelancer. And we're going to talk a little bit later about what a pivot is and some examples of some pivots. But before we do, I want to share that statistics show that many small businesses fail over the course of 5 years or just don't get continued on. In fact, more will fail than not. And the question is how do you become that independent consultant or that freelancer that you're successful 5 years from now and 8 years from now and 10 years from now? And things are going to happen in that time frame. You're going to change. Your life around you may change. The economy is going to change. What you want to do might change. And so we believe a pivot is a great way to keep helping you fine tune your business so it continues to fit you, continue to be viable. So I've used the word pivot a bazillion times already. So Katie, how would you describe what a pivot is?
Yeah. So to me, a pivot is whenever you're changing some aspect of your business. And that can be really big. You can be changing several things at once, or it can be pretty small. It can be, like you said, like a tweak just to get you where you're going. So when you think about pivoting, it might be you decide you have a new ideal client. You just worked with a business. You're like, this is my exact industry. This is the exact profile. And so I want to work with more of these type of people. I've done that a few times now where I'm like, this is great. Let me figure out how I can lean more into this market. It could be that you have added new skills. And so as such, you want to be able to offer new services to the clients that you currently serve. So that's a little bit of a pivot, right? You're leaning into some new services. It could also be something like changing the structure of how much work you want to take on, how many clients you want to take on. So maybe you've decided rather than have 3 really large projects through the course of the year, you're going to switch that and decide to then have retainer clients instead. So it's anytime I think that you look at your business and where you are and what you're doing, and you want to make some sort of change to get it more towards that ideal state. And so I think it's just this perpetual kind of like wiggling almost to get right where you are. And sometimes it might be a huge wiggle because you really realize some sort of market need that you really want to lean into. And other times it might be just something slight that you feel like helps get you just on track to get your business where it is that you want it to be.
Exactly. Great example of this is from 2004 to 2010. I did work in change management. I did project work. I typically served 2 clients at a time. I would traveled 80 to 90% of the time. It was all good. And then I realized I was disassociated, like I didn't feel connected in with community or family, and I was spending way too much time on the road. And and at the same time, the work that I wanted to do, I wanted to shift it a bit. So that was where I did a big pivot. I did a rebranding, and that was where Evergreen Leadership took place. I shifted my focus from change to leadership development. I looked at projects a different way. So I stopped doing the project work that required me so much to be on the road. That pivot probably took 2 or 3 years in total by the time I rebranded and renamed and did all those kinds of things. But it was a really healthy pivot for me to just, again, fine tune and get my business to a place that served me better at that point in my life.
Right.
Katie, yeah, you've made some pivots. Give us an example.
Yeah, I was going to just mention our Leap one because like I feel like it's just so good with this conversation. So when we originally started Leap in 2017, we thought we were going to put together like a 5-day intensive where people would show up for a retreat and they would come in with some inkling of the consulting business that they wanted to start. And then by the end, they would have, the full business plan, their marketing, everything set up and ready to go. So it was an in-person event, highly intensive, time intensive, like huge financial commitment to come and do this. And we realized that was just not the structure for people who are in the position of considering whether, consulting is right for them, or even people who are really interested in doing that. So we have taken, a lot of the information I think that we were going to have there anyway and shifted it, and now have the launch series live, which I feel like is just a different iteration of it. There's some things missing that like would have been at the retreat, but we realized this is closer to what the market needs. And so that's why we're going to do that and to make that pivot. So I love your example, because it really is an example of how you can pivot like to better address where you are in life and like the type of work you want to do. And the leap example, I feel like really strongly reflects the market need was not where it was for like what we had originally planned. So we pivoted to be able to better address that.
Exactly. Well, and just this year was a great example of a pivot. Is I had over the last 3 years really worked hard to make my work location agnostic, right?
Yeah.
So I could do it mostly virtual. But then the pandemic hit, and I really had to think about, I was well positioned to do this, but what could I offer my clients? Because they were in a different place. And how could I help them work virtually? So sometimes it's driven by you and your needs and the things you want to do. And sometimes it's driven by the economy, and sometimes it's driven by the market and your clients and what they need. So there's lots of different things that might cause you to pivot. I think the key though is getting comfortable. One of the blessings I think of this occupation is you do have that ability to continually change and morph and be relevant today. So Katie, tell us a bit about if somebody's interested in pivoting, whether it's a big one or a little one, some of the LEAP resources we have that might help them.
Yeah. And I'll add just one thing is that I think that there is something really freeing about the power of the pivot, just in terms of you don't have to have everything exactly perfect in order to either launch or to do something new with your business. It's, take into consideration market needs, your skills and everything, but then put like the best thing out there that you can, you'll learn, and you'll be able to pivot and shape it along the way. But yes, so LEAP resources for pivoting. If you are someone who maybe you're just starting and you're feeling a little hesitant about getting out there, or maybe you are looking to make some sort of large rebranded pivot, kind of like what Kris was describing when going from K. Taylor and Associates to Evergreen Leadership, the launch series might be right for you, because it really helps you revisit the foundational parts of your business, such as what is your value proposition? Who is your ideal client? How is your network going to help you get to that ideal client? What methods of marketing are you using? And then some tips on selling in there as well. But it might be just what you need to kind of make a larger pivot and get it back out into the world. But if you currently have a consulting business or freelancing business, and you're looking at making smaller pivots, but you really want accountability or you want support and resources to help you successfully see it through, we have the Prosper community, and that might be a good choice for you. And you can learn about those and other LEAP resources that we have here.